Well, hello there, everybody. It's Bouncy here, and you're listening to Weird Lolocaust back in the game now. I'm on my own this week. I say this week, this month, because we haven't done an episode in a while. We've all been very busy with horrible real-world things that are horrible. Unfortunately, Rob isn't doing something horrible this weekend. I say unfortunately, probably for the best. He's off covering some ice hockey thing, I think. I'm sure he is. It's either ice hockey or cricket. I don't know which. I did look. I'm proud. Oh, better check that, really. No, it's fine. We'll just carry on. Anyway, it's just a show because we have not done one in a little while, and we are going to be doing them again very soon. But we were worried that you might think that we've just given up, and we definitely haven't. And last week, I went to Gadget Show Live. Gadget Show Live 2016. Traders Day or something. Trade Exhibition Day. And I wanted to talk about that. Now, I went with Kev off of the Mature Gamer podcast. While we were there, we met with Dean, who is a long-term supporter of their podcast and pretty much the sole driving force behind MGPX, which this year sounds like it's going to be fantastic. And at some point, we bumped into the Woolster, Andy Woolley, the vodka-drinking monster from the north, who may have taken offence to the fact that he kept talking to me and I've gone deaf in one ear and I really have a trouble with some accents. So I thought I'd make a joke out of it rather than feel awkward, and I just kept going, I have no idea what you're saying. But I'm sure he took it as a joke because that was the way it was intended. Anyway, on with the show. So yes, Gadget Show. Gadget Show's an odd one. It's, in terms of gaming, you usually will find about 10 games. This year there was about 10 games there. They had Line Wobbler that's been shown off elsewhere. A great shot called Block Ships, which you'll be hearing a lot more about very soon as we're going to do an interview with the people behind that. But essentially it's a mixture of Tetris, Time Pilot, Defender, Super Breakout, Space Invaders, and it's 4-player, same console co-op, PvP. And it's great. So, yeah, look out for that one. Probably the biggest game on show there was Dirt Rally from Codemasters. Had a quick bash on that, and it's a Dirt Rally game. It is very much a rally game now, not like Showdown was, where you could just sort of have Demolition Derby and stuff. Here it was very pretty and very accurate. However, I drove off. There's like a gap in the fence at one point with a sort of a drop down, and I drove off there expecting some kind of, expecting the race to end really like it would in a proper rally. I thought I'd get a nice animation of my car rolling down with all the physics engine working, and that would be the end of it. Instead, it just put me back on the track, gave me a 15-second penalty, which seemed a little unsimmy in the grand scheme of things, but I digress. Anyway, if you're into those sort of games, I'm sure you'll love it, and it was very, very pretty. Then we had a look at the Game Vice stand. Now, Game Vice is a new device that essentially clamps around your iOS product. In this first sense we tried, we had it with an iPhone 6. Then we tried it with the the iPad Pro, which is huge, obviously, and it felt like the greatest handheld device I've ever used. So they've basically created an app that curates all of the apps on the App Store that support the Game Vice. And in there, you've got the GTA remastered, you've got Call of Duty, you've got Tomb Raider 2, you've got Assassin's Creed. There's so many games in there that struggled to be enjoyable because you were playing with touchscreen controls. And as the makers of the product said, the biggest issue when you've got a big device is actually the controls almost become completely unusable because they're designed for a smartphone. So you've got 3 or 4 inches between your digits. As soon as you get slightly bigger, it suddenly becomes a bit more of an issue. There was no issue with this. I played a third-person shooter game and I killed 18 people in the round compared to like 3 each for everybody else. And I felt fully in control and I absolutely loved every second of it, which doesn't very often happen. So chatting with the makers, and they were saying about what phones we had, and I said I had an iPhone 5, and Kev said, oh, he's got an iPhone 6 Plus, and then they gave Kev a review copy. And I thought, oh, Marvellous. And the guy still said, you get a newer phone, we'll send you a review copy. So I went home that night and thought, oh, that's a real shame. And then my phone died. Now, as I have sort of a belief in Shinto, look it up. I can't help but think that my phone did it on purpose. That it realised that I loved that device so much, and it couldn't give me that device, that it just threw itself off into the digital threw itself off into the digital ever after, which meant I needed to get a new phone. And of course, in my head, I was thinking, well, if I get another iPhone, a newer iPhone, I can get a game voice posted to me. So I thought, well, I'll go and get an iPhone 6. That'll be fine. So I went to my local phone supplier, who doesn't have any iPhone 6s, didn't have any iPhone 6 Pluses, didn't have any of the iPhone 6Ss. They only had the 6 Plus S, or the 6S Plus, or the Plus X, whatever it is. What is Apple's problem with the number 7? Like 3 or 4 versions of the 6 already. It's crazy. Anyways, I digress again. So I got the S Plus. And it's a bloody lovely phone. But all I really want now is this Game Voice to arrive, because it was amazingly good. Kev did do an unboxing and like a little sort of show off on his YouTube channel. So do go and have a look at that. But in the meantime, also look out for mine, because it will obviously be better. Because for most of my video, I'll actually be in shot, which is always good. Also, I won't demonstrate Minecraft on the screen while using green screen, because it results in hilarious logo transferal. Watch the video, you'll see what I mean. But yeah, so Game Voice, from the people who made WikiPad, that was shown off there last year, which had I think it had a specifically built tablet that would all run together. And it was a smarter move going out and saying, right, okay, put an iOS device in it. It currently only supports iOS. It's only available through Apple. But the branding, the packaging, the product quality, it's just astonishingly good. So yeah, get into some of those, because it's great. But then it also wouldn't be Gadget Show if we didn't play with technology in inverted commas. So we saw some heat packs. Now, you know these heat packs where you've got like a little gel and you snap a little piece of metal inside, which creates a reaction, and then that reaction basically does something with salt. I can't even remember how they work now, but it basically makes them into a hand warmer that you put in your pocket. Well, there was somebody there who was trying to demonstrate those as if it was a new technology. Now, I'm pretty sure I've seen, I mean, these are reusables, but I'm pretty sure these have been around for a good couple of decades. And unfortunately, Kev has had back problems, and the woman on the stand leapt at the chance to demonstrate the back warmer and just touched him up, just abused him. I mean, it was hilarious. I took a couple of photos for my own personal collection, but my word, she went at him like a prostitute with 2 legs. Well, 2 legs, that's not even a funny analogy, is it? A prostitute with debt. That's how she went at him. She wanted to marry him, and he was terrified. It was great. And he kept saying, yeah, it's very hot. It's very hot. Yeah, it's very hot, actually, yeah. Being very polite about it, whereas what he should have said was, get off me, you heat product selling harpy. I don't want none of it. But he didn't. He just sat there and got burned by a woman. We also saw a man who'd made a cheese grater that was like a pepper mill, like a pepper grinder. You put the cheese in it, push the button, it grates loads of cheese. Now, in essence, a good pepper grinder type cheese mill is not a bad thing. But this is Gadget Show. Yeah, I don't just want gadgets. I know it's in the title and all that, but I did tell him that it was great. He looked at me like he'd only ever heard that about 1 billion times, and he fucking hated it. So, yeah, don't do that. But yeah, what a weird thing. The people were there with the Diablo, Kitchen Diablo, whatever it was called, where basically it's like a pasty maker, but it's cast iron, and you put it on a hob, and then it cooks, and you're just then left with 2 very hot pieces of metal that you can use as weapons, like a Mortal Kombat combatant with a capital K. So they were there as well. There was lots of little bits and pieces. I mean, don't get me wrong. There was some good tech. There was some bad tech. There was some very super futuristic tech. And then there was some that was just sort of a bit decidedly average. Like a weird man on what looked like a unicycle who was in prototype stage to create a solution that would remove the need for walking frames and walking sticks by putting elderly, infirm and incapacitated people on unicycles. Yeah. I mean, it sounds hilarious in principle, but the idea was it takes the weight of the body, so there's no weight on the legs, so the legs can then just generally control movement, which was good. So yeah, things like that were a bit nutty. There were loads of killer robots. They had bomb disposal robots, which is the opposite of a killer robot, I guess, and then they had like a Robot Wars arena. Unfortunately, not the Robot Wars reboot TV show. It was just sort of fighting robots. But who doesn't like fighting robots, eh? I mean, I love it when R2-D2 and C-3PO go at it, and they're like, "Oh, you would say that, you silly little boy," and then he whistles and beeps, and oh dear, that's a Robot Wars, Star Wars, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, so that was there, and then you it's not gadgets these days, is it? Without some drones, and there are about 74 million drones at Gadget Show. I don't mean flying all at the same time, I mean in boxes and things. The most impressive for me was the Follow Me drone, which you can throw up in the air and then go riding on a bike or snowboarding or walking around Queensgate. It's a shopping centre in Peterborough. If you know what that is, that's hilarious. If you don't, just insert the name of a local shopping centre that's been there a bit too long. You throw it up in the air, it follows you around, it circles around, it knows where it is, it's completely autonomous, and it records you. So if you're such a narcissist that you just want your everyday life recorded, like, I don't know, those people on every day it's S6, the only way is S6, I don't know, fucking wankers. If you're like you want to be like those wankers on TV, then this is it. Apart from Gogglebox, I don't think Gogglebox would really work very well for Follow Me drone in the front room. It might do. At least it would decrease the chance of somebody seeing it with short legs. So yeah, loads of drones. Tiny little drones that cost far too much money for what they are. I had one for Christmas that was shit. I mean, it flew, it dropped, it shattered, and they were selling for £40. And loads of those hoverboards as well. And they had like plastic gold-plated hoverboards that still don't hover and really should be brought down under the Trade Description Act, let alone the fact that they're dangerous and catching fire. And yeah, loads of that stuff. No pens, no special pens that I could see. A really good health watch that was a Swiss watch that just tallied to a smartphone. There was no sort of digital readout, it was just a watch that took all your readings and stuff. And Dean hilariously complained that you had to change the battery every 8 months. Like, that's some great hardship. And we realise that's how terrible the world has got. Like, the first world problem situation now extends to having to change a watch battery rather than just plug it in to charge it up. It's a shame. And also, I think if you stop changing watch batteries, what's that man on the market going to do? Because now we've all got plastic watch straps, he doesn't have to adjust those. And if he doesn't have watch batteries to go for, then he'll disappear. And what will then happen is people who like old style watches will have to buy their watch batteries on the internet, like 35mm film or Polaroid film or audio cassettes or super VHS tapes or Super 8 film or any other redundant piece of technology that then costs 20 times more than it needs to because people stop buying it in bulk and now you can only buy it from some charlatan on the internet. So don't keep buying phones and things that don't need batteries. It's important. We need to keep these like cell plate battery things, whatever they're called. We need to keep them in the mainstream. You can get them in Poundland. Let's keep them there, yeah? There was also a Wendy house, like a playhouse for the garden. And the makers of it had designed it so that it would fold flat. So it would be no more than 30 centimetres wide when folded up. And you could store it and move it around. And the idea was, from his description, that he was mowing the lawn and he had one and it was in the way. And he thought that could be a solution. My mind went into overdrive. Now, I thought it could be used as like pro camping, the glamping thing. You could just have like a plastic built tent with a wood effect, like Centre Parks, but plastic. But which would be really good in like plastic trees and things as well. I also said it could be used for the aid effort in the migrant communities that have been building up on borders. They could have all these little pop-up houses. The British Red Cross could have a ship full of them, take them to earthquake zones, because A, they would not be affected by aftershocks because they're made of plastic, and even if it did collapse, they just pop back up again. And if people kind of explode, say like you're in the Ebola region, people could live in them, and because they're made of plastic, they could be easily disinfected. So if you see any of these folding houses on any of the news programs, then you know who to thank, and that's basically the inventors of that, and me for chatting load of rubbish. The most disappointing part of the show, outside of the fact that I didn't get to film myself with a drone that filmed you, was the Dolby Atmos demonstration. They had a theatre set up with a digital Epson projector, which was phenomenal. I mean, the quality on that projection was great. I work in a cinema now. I've got an opinion on the projectors, it seems. And then they had loads of speakers set up to give you Dolby Atmos. Now, Dolby Atmos is essentially a three-dimensional sound system. So it has speakers built into the ceiling that project sound downwards, which allows sound to be pinpointed within an auditorium. It's more technologically required in terms of explanation, but who cares? The fact is, it's good surround sound, very, very good surround and immersive sound, actually, more than surround sound, because it's not just around you, it's in you if you sit in the right place. And they described it by saying, if you want a bumblebee, you're in a room, you know where that bumblebee is, and this would give filmmakers and sound mixers the chance to actually project sound across a room, specifically having that sound pinpointable, which is phenomenal. Then they showed it off in a big chipboard cube with wooden chairs and terrible insulation for sound, and basically you couldn't really tell much. Like I say, the most impressive part of that whole demonstration was the Epson projector, and that wasn't the point. So the system is very, very good. I mean, it's, in principle, it should be the new standard for cinemas and home cinemas alike. However, at the same time, if you're sat and thinking, oh, yeah, that sounds like it was terrible. It wasn't terrible. The setup was terrible. Also, they kept turning the volume up and down on things, and very often it was just being turned down, which when you're in a sound demonstration, you want that sound to like absolutely rip through you. You want it to be like the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, just have your skin melted off by sound. Not that there was sound. Well, there was sound coming out of that chest. I know they were ghostly sound, but all the same, I've got a cold. I'm rambling on, and I'm rapidly running out of tonal quality. Not that it was much to start with. Much like the Dolby Atmos demonstration. So, yeah, when you come out of that and somebody says, oh, did you enjoy that? British politeness made me say, yeah, very good. And then almost straight after, I just went, actually, no, it was pretty poor. And the bloke just sort of looked at me as if to go, I'll take your first answer. Have a good day. And you could have said, oh, what a terrible day. Killer robots aren't robot wars. An old man on a unicycle for disabled people. A fancy grater. Broken drones. Shit sound around. Whoa. That would have been the case had we not have booked ourselves in for the proper NVIDIA demonstration of the Steam VR system, the HTC Vive. Oh my word, that is pretty. Now, I've tried the Steam VR with Elite Dangerous, and I've tried it with some game based in a dungeon where the bloke who created it was an arsehole, and I can't even... it was something to do with crystals, but I'm not even going to mention him because he's an arsehole. But I'd heard really good things about this NVIDIA demonstration in the sense that it is a true demonstration of what is possible. And I'll leave this short. I didn't want to leave. I wanted to stay there and stay plugged into that for the rest of my life. It was like a Better Than Life machine from Red Dwarf, only better than that because it wasn't created by Timothy Spall or run by Timothy Spall or whatever. Hello, I'm Timothy Spall, and I'm going to interrupt this for a second and tell you that We're the Lolocaust, the comedy podcast, is coming back at some point in the summer. Look out for that. What was that? That was an interruption from some new sounds. Nothing like me whatsoever. Okay. So yeah, the Steam VR, it started off with a little white room with floating controllers, which, I mean, this demo has been shown to lots of people. You've probably heard it from lots of other people. So let's not talk about the specifics too much. Let's talk about how it made me feel, because I felt like a 5-year-old who's just been told that he can go to an ice cream van and he can have a double 99 with 2 flakes. Now, that doesn't happen. That never happens to a 5-year-old. That's like the adult ice cream. That's like going into a bar and ordering a cocktail rather than a can of San Pellegrino. You know, it was fucking amazing. So it just started off. I was allowed to blow balloons and punch them around, and I could have done that for an hour. It was just incredible, visually incredible, but it also made me feel incredible while playing it. I bet I looked from the outside. I bet I looked like a child rolling around in mud, naked, while the parents take photos to embarrass them with when they're 24. I loved it. I did Employment Simulator, or whatever it's called, Office Job Simulator. Loved that, firing employees and throwing paper aeroplanes around, standing on the deck of a sunken ship as a whale passes by, shooting spaceships out of the sky while using a shield. All absolutely fantastic mini experiences. Like the best experience I ever had with Microsoft Kinect was Double Fine's Happy Action Theatre. This felt like Happy Action Theatre on a huge new level and made for grown-ups. And then they gave me the Tilt Brush. And Tilt Brush was a revelation to me in the sense it's Microsoft Paint in 3 dimensions, and you can walk in and around your artwork. It's essentially a sculpture that you can create, and I loved it. So that when I got home, I actually checked on pricing and availability and room specifics. I measured the room that I've got my Xbox in currently to see if I could find a way of getting all the furniture to be flat pack, so I can then just get rid of it all and have it as a Steam VR setup. I want it. I need it. I need it, actually. I don't just want it. I need more of that. So either I've got to buy it, or I've got to persuade somebody I know to buy it and then spend a lot of time around their house. Anyone listening to this and you're thinking of buying a Steam VR, do get in touch. I'm quite happy to rent a room. So yeah, it was incredible, and I knew I was smiling a lot while playing it. It's something that doesn't happen very often, but I think the last time I genuinely remember it was when I played Rayman Legends, and just thinking this is such ridiculous, over-the-top fun in a retro way, and I just smiled a lot while playing it. Same thing with the Nvidia display. It was just remarkable. And yeah, and you know, nothing at the show could be better than that. We left quite early because we'd done everything. We got there early. We got like access a couple of hours before the start of it, and we left sort of mid-afternoon. Drove back. Lovely weather. No issues whatsoever. Normally, there's roadworks, there's delays, there's stress, there's frequent stops at service stations that then end up adding 2 hours onto the runtime of the trip. Nothing whatsoever. Kept mentioning this to Kev. He decided on the way back just to suddenly slam the brakes on and reach for the handbrake right next to a river, and gave us both whiplash, thus proving that the journey was not without drama and making me look like a right idiot, as well as giving us both whiplash. But yeah, and that was Gadget Show 2016. So, all very good stuff. There will be articles going up on the website to support everything that I've got in here in a bit more detail, because obviously when you're sat on your own and you're just talking about something, it can sound a little bit egotistical, and I don't like to sound egotistical. So those articles will be coming up. I'll also be carrying on my description of my Assassin's Creed adventure. I've worked through the whole of Black Flag. Didn't do the DLC for it. I'm going to come back to that at a later date. And I'm now working through Unity, and I've ordered Assassin's Creed Rogue and HD Chronicles as well. So once I've finished Syndicate, I'll be able to go back and do those. Rogue will be played in between Chronicles and the Freedom Cry DLC for Black Flag. Accidentally started the DLC for Unity, so that's a bit of an issue. And then once all that's done, it'll then be Season Pass for Syndicate, and we will be up to date. And I'll be honest, I'm genuinely loving this. It's nice to have sort of a pattern and a plan. With Quantum Break on the horizon, though, I think it's going to be tested somewhat. And the DLC for Fallout came out, and I haven't been able to touch that because I have promised myself I won't until I finish Unity. But yeah, look out for more of those articles very soon. Hopefully going to Rezzed on Thursday. So we'll have lots of information on indie games, but unfortunately, financial situation at the moment looks like I might not be able to make it. If that is the case, then I will hopefully have an ear on the ground and feedback some information for you. Rob should be back in the game with me next week. We should be getting back to recording, and we should be putting the episodes out fortnightly. The options are at the moment to do an episode fortnightly or record 2 episodes in 1 week and then put them out. So we'll see how that goes. But we are definitely interested in getting this back on the run. It's just very busy, and he's getting married. And getting married means stag do's and hen do's and stuff. And so he should bloody well enjoy it without the pressure. So I'm going to just keep doing this and keeping it going in the meantime. If you've got any questions, anything you want to answer in, do drop them in by email at wearelolocaust@gmail.com. It will give the show a bit more content, and then I'll be able to talk without being able to just sort of talk, which would be good. I might also get my son involved in a future episode as well, because he's a big Destiny player, and he's been immersed in that. So with that in mind, I would remind you kindly that if you do want to help keep the show running, and it is things like getting to events, Gadget Show sort of to all the budget, having 2 events in a fortnight hasn't really helped. But if you do want to help out, you can donate via PayPal. There's a link on it on our website at www.lolocaust.co.uk. There are also affiliate links you may use. So that is things like the Amazon affiliate link, the Loot Crate affiliate link. I think there's another one, but I can't remember what it is. And they just help out. So like the Assassin's Creed games that I hadn't got, we're using the affiliate link money to buy those to give you content. So it kind of in a roundabout way, it helps out. And we do wait until prices drop as well. That's the other advantage. So like with Assassin's Creed, I think all of them cost about 20 quid. No money at all. So you get content. Sorry for yawning. That's very rude, isn't it? Just yawning through. I could have edited that out as well, but I'm not going to. Because it's all one run, and let's just crack on with it. Yeah, we run through and we have a good time with it, and then you get content on the podcast and in written format. Also, just to remind myself as much as anybody else, the website should start having regular content put on there in general form, because obviously we're going to these events and we're doing what we can. So that's the plan. But also, there is talk of the comedy Weird Lolocaust show making a return, a highly demanded return, with some new characters, some old faces, and you should be looking forward to that in summer. If you're that way inclined, if you miss that kind of comedy element, I've had a meeting with Dr. Ham Hock Esquire, and Newsbot was stood behind him like a bouncer. We sat either end of a table with contracts, and we think we may have negotiated a truce between us, since we went to war when he trod on 4 of my Skylanders and refused to apologise. So also look out for that. So it's quite exciting, really. You know, events, web articles, new podcast episodes from this, new podcast episodes from the old one. And I should also be setting up a podcast for my workplace, Lux Cinema in Wisbech. Now, this will be a movie-based podcast, and each week it will be centred around the films that we are showing that week and any film news that we've heard, like the top 10s and things like that. We'll also be feeding back on what's done really well at the cinema, what our customers are feeding back to us, lots of little bits and pieces. But it doesn't have to be for just customers of the Lux. So if you're interested in film, do keep an eye out for that. It should come up on its own feed, and when it does, I will be putting stuff out on social media channels as usual, so look out for that as well. Reviews on it would be appreciated, because of course that helps us with iTunes rankings and what have you, and you know, it's all good because it helps my business do better. And yeah, we've got some very exciting things for that. Anyways, affiliate links. I've done the email address, weirlolocaust@gmail.com. Send us your questions and comments and chats if you want, because we have people like Esh who that sounds aggressive, who frequently email in for conversational. and it's all great, and I love that. You've also got the social media, so we've got at We Are the Lolocaust, the letter R on Twitter. You've got me at Bouncy and HL2B. You've got Rob, who's at Rob McGregor 33, I think. I don't know. You start typing Rob McGregor, it'll show up, I'm sure. And then obviously there's Dr. Hamhock, Dalek Sex, and Newsbot are also on Twitter if you want to refresh those. Get downloading on Nintendo's Miitomo because it's amazing. We'll be talking about that on our next show, and we want to hear your views on it. Send us your screenshots, send us your funny reactions, send us your costumes, whatever you like. Send in your Miitomo stuff, and you could find yourself in the show and on the site. Now, it's just over half an hour. I've blabbed on for a little while. You take care of yourselves, and we'll be back very, very soon with more We're Lolocaust back in the game.